Hello everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for watching recently on here on YouTube and on TikTok. I really do appreciate it. In this video I will be sharing 4 more true crime videos from TikTok. They're just shorter ones, but make sure you stay tuned until the end to see one that I haven't posted yet. I do appreciate you guys being patient with me as I bring new videos here to YouTube. More will be coming, so please make sure you tune in, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when a new video comes out. I have a few more in the works that'll be coming out shortly, so I hope you guys tune in. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy this video. This is the Icebox Murders. In 1965, Fred and Edwina Rogers were living in Houston along with their grown son, Charles. The family mostly kept to themselves in their quiet neighborhood, especially given Charles' reclusive and antisocial behavior. In fact, many neighbors were not even aware that Charles lived at home with his parents, because he left the house each day before dawn and did not return until well after midnight. When a family member hadn't heard from the Rogers in several days, he called the Houston police for a welfare check on his elderly aunt and uncle. The patrolmen were unable to locate Fred and Edwina, but they noticed food sitting on the dining room table. They opened the fridge and noticed numerous packages of meat neatly stacked atop one another. That is when they noticed 2 human heads in the vegetable bin. Additional officers arrived on the stomach-turning scene and slowly removed the packages full of dismembered body parts from the fridge. The remains were that of Fred and Edwina Rogers. The police deduced that Edwina had been brutally beaten and shot, while Fred suffered forceful trauma to the head. His eyes had been gouged out and his genitalia removed. The couple's innards had been flushed down their toilet. Charles was nowhere to be found. Naturally, Charles was the prime suspect in the heinous crime. However, he seemed to have vanished off the face of the earth. Though the police were able to collect circumstantial pieces of evidence against him, Charles Rogers has never been found. This is Lionel Tate. Upstairs in her Florida home, Kathleen Grossett Tate yelled for the 2 kids playing noisily downstairs to keep it down. About 45 minutes later, her son, 12-year-old Lionel Tate, came up to tell her that the other child, 6-year-old Tiffany Unick, wasn't breathing. In fact, she was dead. According to Tate, the pair were wrestling on July 28, 1999, and the girl's head hit a table. But authorities determined that she had a fractured skull with a swollen brain, broken rib, lacerated liver, and serious bruises to her neck, legs, and feet. Tate was arrested and charged as an adult. Convicted of first-degree murder, he, by then 13 years old, became the youngest person in American history sentenced to life in prison. An appeals court reversed the conviction in 2003 on the grounds his mental competency should have been evaluated, and in 2004 he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for a year of house arrest. Tate was later arrested 2 more times. the latest in 2005 when he was 19 for the armed robbery of a pizza delivery man and sentenced to 30 years in prison. Tell me your thoughts on this disturbing case. This is the Chicago Tylenol murders. On September 29, 1982, 7 people in the Chicago area ingested poisoned Tylenol pills, consequently collapsing and dying shortly after. The 7 victims included 12-year-old Mary Kellerman, 27-year-old Mary Reiner, 31-year-old Mary McFarland, 35-year-old Paula Prince, 27-year-old Adam Janis, 25-year-old Stanley Janis, and 19-year-old Teresa Janis. Adam ingested a Tylenol and died at the hospital. When the family came back to mourn, Stanley and his wife Teresa took a Tylenol and died, making it 3 deaths in the same family on the same day. However, this tragedy is what led investigators to connect the dots. Cook County investigator Nick Pichos compared the Janis's Tylenol bottle to Mary Kellerman's and noticed they had one similarity, a control number. Deputy Medical Examiner Edmund Donahue asked Pichos to smell the bottles, and he replied that they both smelled of almonds. The poison cyanide is known to smell like bitter almonds, which in large amounts can cause seizures, cardiac arrest, and respiratory failure. The blood tests on all of the victims showed that they had taken a dose 100 to 1,000 times the lethal amount. Donahue spoke to an attorney from Johnson & Johnson, Tylenol's parent company, that the Tylenol bottles were intentionally poisoned with potassium cyanide. Immediately, over 31 million bottles of Tylenol were recalled by the manufacturer and were issued warnings. They also offered to replace recalled bottles with new bottles and offered a $100,000 reward to anyone who may have had any information on the perpetrator. These precautions cost the company over $100 million. There were several more copycat deaths across the United States after the initial incident had occurred. This led to the invention of safety seals that you see on medicine bottles today. To this day, no suspect has ever been charged or convicted of the poisonings. This is Armando Barron. As Armando checked his wife Brittany's cell phone, he came across signs she was having an affair. On September 19, 2020, he stuck a gun in her mouth in front of their 9-year-old daughter, beat her, then drove her out to a state park in New Hampshire, where he had lured her lover, Jonathan Amirault, according to authorities. Armando then ordered his wife to shoot Amirault, but she refused to do so, so he then ordered her to cut his wrists, which she did. Barron then shot Amirault 3 times, drove Brittany and the body to a site over 200 miles away, and forced her to decapitate Amirault with a saw and bury his head. After Fish and Game Department officers found the rest of the body wrapped in a tarp on September 22nd, Armando was arrested and charged with capital murder and domestic assault, while Brittany was charged with falsifying evidence. Both have pleaded not guilty. Brittany claims she was only following her husband's orders out of fear for her life, but a prosecutor alleges she only cooperated with authorities after she got caught. What are your thoughts on this? This is Marcus Wesson. He committed one of the worst mass murders in Fresno, California history. The incident occurred after several family members showed up to his house demanding the return of their children. Police were called to mediate the child custody issue, but instead they became part of a standoff. The police claimed they did not hear the gunshots that killed 9 people inside the home. The victims were Wesson's children, and in some cases, they were children he had fathered with his own daughters and nieces. Each had been shot through the eye. Inside the home, authorities also found a selection of antique caskets. Wesson had apparently instructed his children to be prepared to die in the event that authorities tried to separate them. He had some intense religious beliefs and had ultimately developed a cult within his family. The vampire aspect of the religious cult came out later. Wesson presented a defense that his daughter committed the murders and then shot herself. Her DNA was found on the gun, but the argument was made that he had persuaded her to kill the children. Ultimately, Wesson was convicted of 9 counts of first-degree murder and an assortment of sex crimes. He was sentenced to death in 2005.